Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the Sunday garden question and answer video that I do most Sundays. If you're interested in participating in this video and asking questions, you can ask them down below the description of this video, and I will answer them the next question and answer video, which is normally the next Sunday, but this week, this next Sunday is actually Subscriber Sunday, where subscribers send in photos of things in their yard that they're proud of. I've got the email address right here if you're interested in sending in photos for that. I think I probably have the record number of photos already for that video coming up. I've gotten a lot of response from it, so thanks everyone for participating in that video. That should be a good video next Sunday. Speaking of videos, this week I should have, I went to Pine Knot Nursery yesterday for their open house and got quite a few pieces that I'm going to do a video for tomorrow and show you some of the little video clips I took from Pine Knot Nursery in Southern Virginia. And I talked about shooting some simple videos, you know, just how to plant a shrub kind of videos. You're gonna see one or two of those this week. The Wednesday update video should be pretty good. I've been slowed down a little bit. There's some snow on the ground right here we've got left over. We don't get a lot of snow here, but we did in the last few days have the ground covered, about 3 inches of snow. What else this week? The March to do video will be before this week is over. That video is a challenge. And what else? And then of course Subscriber Sunday for next week. So quite a few video projects coming up for this week. So I'm excited about that, and I don't know why I'm talking so much. I should already be working on them. And let's see, what else do I know? I'm going to be in at Homestead Gardens in Davidson, Maryland on March 15th. Doing some sort of presentation and then question and answer. If you're in that Maryland, DC area, I'd love to see you at that event. Like I said, that'll be March 15th at Homestead Gardens. I'll know the time that I'm doing my presentation within the next week or two. And then the first weekend in April, I know I'm in the Atlanta area, likely at a Home Depot, and then at probably an independent garden center as well, probably 2 events. Later in April, I'm pretty sure I'm back in Georgia again. And then in March, I know I'm going to be over on the other side of the mountains in Tennessee. So I'll, like I say, as those things develop, I'll give you the exact times and dates and that kind of thing. Typically at these kind of events, I'll do some sort of new plant, interesting plant presentation, you know, live, where I'll have the plants there. And then I'll take question and answer. And I kind of welcome question and answer even while I'm presenting. It doesn't bother me at all. I kind of like that give and take with the group. And I've answered questions for horticulture for a long time, so I'm very, very comfortable, especially in, like I say, in a live situation, and I think a lot of people, you can get a lot out of it, I hope. So anyway, taking the question and answer show on the road some this spring, and like I say, I'll have more details coming up on that. So let's get to the last week's questions. I had talked about in a video recently about azaleas having super fibrous roots, and they stay right up in the top 3 or 4 inches of soil. And that's true on a lot of ericaceous plants like blueberries, and they have rhododendrons. A lot of them have very similar roots. And then they wanted to know about if hydrangeas were similar. And yes, hydrangeas are actually similar. Most of the roots are kind of fibrous and they're up in the upper part of the soil. So if you're ever going to transplant a hydrangea, I recommend digging out pretty wide and then kind of making a little pancake going back under the plant. Rather than cutting deep near the plant like that, you would go out wider and try to get as many of those fibrous roots near the surface as you can, but similar. Somebody asked me about growing a 9-bark in Central Virginia, and that would work great for you in Central Virginia. Down here in Raleigh, it's typically a little too hot for 9-barks. I see them occasionally, but a lot of times by midsummer, they're kind of burn out a little bit here. Back in the North Carolina mountains, they do great, and certainly up through Central Virginia and everybody north. I would love to grow them here. I do like them quite a bit, but like I say, typically by midsummer they look a little bit rough in my area. Somebody asked me about gardenia pruning, and then somebody else asked about gardenia pruning, so I'll go down to their question. It's they wanted to know about pruning cherry laurels and gardenias, and they had looked it up and it just said spring pruning, which is a little bit, it's not a great answer to when to prune anything. Typically, when we're talking about flowering shrubs, we're either talking about pruning them before they bloom or after they bloom. If we're pruning them before they bloom, it means that plant blooms on this year's wood. So it's going to leaf out and produce flower buds and bloom this year. Those are the ones we prune before they bloom. The ones that we prune after they bloom are ones that set the flower buds before they went to sleep in the fall and winter. And so there's a big differentiation there. Gardenias can be a little confusing because I don't know that people know that they bloom on old and new wood. So if you look up when to prune a gardenia, some people will say definitively you wait until after they flower, and some people will say definitively you prune them in the late winter before they flower. That's because they're going to bloom no matter what. They bloom on either old or new wood. And so if I had one that was kind of out of control and thin and wispy and that kind of thing, I might prune it before it blooms in about now or early March, and try to get it to fill in a little bit, and then it will still it'll still flower. But ideally, I'd wait till after they flower if I had a shrub that was in good shape, and then you'll get the old and new flowers from that. And then by pruning after they bloom, they'll put on a new flush, and typically you'll see a few more residual flowers from that. On gardenias, cherry laurels, you definitely want to prune them after they flower. So that's a definitive, and the bees and pollinators absolutely love the flowers on the cherry laurel, so we definitely don't want to be pruning those before they bloom. And then they ask about pruning hollies, and hollies would be burying large leaf hollies. You're not eating grass, are you? I don't know if you guys can see her over here. She's in the frame, but the grass is frozen this morning, so I don't think she'll be eating it. Somebody asked, when they ask about pruning hollies as well, like burying hollies, larger growing ones, there's not a great time to prune those because they flower in spring. Then they set the berries, and the berries mature throughout the spring, summer, and into fall. If you were going to prune them, you can carefully prune them in the late spring or early summer, because the flowers will happen, and then the berries will start to form, and then you'll get new growth coming on the outside of that. And you can kind of carefully take that newer growth off without taking a lot of your berries off, but you just have to do it by thinking about it. If you're just generally pruning them, in the middle of summer, then that's not going to work very well, and you are going to take the berries off. So I would say June pruning on big leaf hollies like that, and being careful not to take the berries off. Okay. Somebody asked me about just what plants to use for screening, but they didn't give me a zone where they live or any additional information. I do have a playlist on this channel called Screening Plants, and so if you'll go to the main page of my channel of HortTube on YouTube, and there's a little playlist tab up at the top, and if you hit the playlist button, I've got a playlist of all kinds of different things. If you live in zone 5 and you want to see every video I've made for a plant that grows in zone 5, there's a playlist for that. You don't have to watch every video I've ever made for plants that don't grow in your area. And there's also, like I say, there's flowering shrubs, there's screening plants, there's fragrant plants, flowering trees. I've got them in playlists for all different kinds of categories. They need to be broken up even more, but I probably have the most organized one of anyone. So, I'm kind of proud of that. Like I say, there's some additional organizing I'd like to do with them, but look for that screening plant playlist. And like I say, also, if you're in zone 6 and you just want to find all the plants I've ever done that will grow in your area, I've got a playlist for that as well. Somebody asked me about Jatropha pruning. That's a tropical tree that grows in Florida and probably out in the West as well. You can prune those really, really hard this time of year. You can reset them. It's a tree that blooms quite a bit, almost year round actually. And then they wanted to know if it would work in North Carolina, and definitely not. That's a zone 10 or 11 plant. It's a tropical. But down in Florida, you can cut that thing right to the ground almost and reset it, almost like a butterfly bush. Somebody asked me if it was okay to mulch in early spring, and definitely this is the best time of year to mulch. I've said in the February to do video, I think February is the best month of the year to mulch, and right up through mid-March, definitely the best time of year. And the reason for that is all your spring weeds are going to germinate soon, and getting those covered up right now will prevent a lot of those from germinating. And so that would be very helpful. Also in the fall, if you were going to do a second layer of mulch or remulching or new beds or whatever, sometime in September or October, getting the ground covered during that period of time is also good, and that'll stop a lot of the henbit and chickweed and a lot of those seasonal weeds that you see right now that have gone crazy. They typically go crazy here in the late winter. That little chickweed has a little white flower, henbit has that little purple flower. You can prevent a lot of that by mulching in the fall. So those are the 2 times a year. I would say February through early March, and mid-September to mid-October. Those 2 times can prevent lots and lots of weeds. Not all, like I say, never going to prevent them all. Somebody asked me just about fast-growing shrubs. Again, I would refer to that screening playlist that I have. Most of those things are going to grow very, very quickly. Somebody asked me about greenspire euonymus spacing. That's an upright, narrow euonymus. They'll get about 2 feet wide. So if you wanted them touching and you're trying to create a screen, I'd put them about 2 feet apart. I think that would be about perfect. Somebody asked me about planting olive martini elaeagnus in zone 5, and it's definitely like a zone 6 to 9 plant. I don't think it's going to, I think it's going to be killed in zone 5, but it brings up a bigger topic of if you are going to try marginal plants, meaning you're pushing the boundary with where those plants grow, spring is the time to plant those plants. So if I was going to dare plant these olive martini elaeagnus in zone 5, I would plant them in the spring, and that gives you an entire season where they're in the ground, they're getting established, they're getting rooted in, and they have a chance to make it through that first winter. A lot of times if something makes it through that first winter, then they can really, you know, they'll be fine after that. And so that's my practice. If you are going to push the limits of anything, spring is the time to do that. So keep that in mind. If you fall plant something that is marginal in the winter time, frequently it can be damaged. Fall is a great time for planting things that aren't marginal though. Somebody asked me, is my yard no dig? Or I guess my vegetable garden is definitely no dig. I did till the first time over here for some vegetables I have going in this past week, but that's literally the first time. I just wanted to kind of get some compost mixed into that clay that's over there in that top couple inches. But then I went right back over the top of that with another layer of compost, and I'm actually planting into that compost. So yes, mine is no dig. And then, and I won't be tilling it again. I'll just continue to add compost to the top of it in the future. And then they asked me if putting down cardboard and then compost over the top of that was a good way to go about it, and said they were very nervous about it the first go round. Yeah, definitely putting cardboard down to stop the weeds, and then putting a generous amount of compost on it and planting your vegetables into that is no problem. Sometimes it can, when we raise something up like that, keep in mind it can end up a little bit drier at times. But it's nothing to be nervous about. The thing about this, you learn a lot by mistakes in gardening, and I think you learn a lot more. If everything you ever put in the ground lives and thrives and does great, then you're not really learning a whole lot. It's actually some setbacks that allow you to learn. And the first vegetable garden you put in your yard is not going to be the best vegetable garden you ever have. You should be working on the soil every year, adding to it, improving it, and you'll see things get better. Also, you want to rotate locations of things. Don't put the same, this will be your first year putting tomatoes in a space. Next year, plan on putting them in another part of the garden, and rotate your stuff around. Know that. But again, your first year you do it's not going to be the best year you do it. So whatever successes you're getting out in the first year, celebrate those. Don't worry about anything that went wrong. Learn from it, and next year attack it again. But yeah, I do no-till. Basically plant my vegetables directly in compost, or some sort of bark and compost, or manure and compost, or manure and bark mix. Those 3 things. So pine bark soil conditioner, some manure, and some other composted material. Any combination of those things, and I plant my vegetables directly into it in a raised space that's not in a framed off raised space. I don't build wooden beds or anything like that. I just do it right on top of the existing soil. So, okay, that was a good amount of questions for this week. Thank you guys very much for participating. Like I say, I'll have more information on the events that I have coming up this spring, and I hope to see a lot of you guys out at these events, and come prepared with questions, and I'll see you then. Thank you very much for watching.